My name is Trevor. I'm the Director of Public Affairs for Flock. And so to touch on what the Chief said, excuse me, as we're getting started, you heard about the use cases regarding DUIs, hit and runs, missing children. I think it's really important to note that these are not anecdotes. And one of the endorsements we're proudest of, two of the endorsements we're proudest of, is one by NCMEC, which is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. This is the agency that runs the country's Amber Alert program. They have specifically endorsed Flock and ALPR generally because of our ability to have helped them find well over 100 missing kids across the country. It's probably actually several hundred at this point. And also fully endorsed by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I've just been incredibly impressed with your law enforcement here in Prescott. One of the most impressive things that I've heard is how you have over doubled your clearance of hit and runs in the city utilizing ALPR, which is just remarkable. And it's one of the reasons that Mothers Against Drunk Driving also supports license plate readers. People know them for DUIs, impaired driving, but another passion for them is stopping hit and runs because of how closely they're associated with impaired driving. So a couple of items, as your chief said, there's a lot of TikTok videos, there's a lot of YouTube videos, and that has created a lot of concern out there, and I want to address those head on directly. And we have, I'm here to answer any questions you have either at this meeting or in emails afterwards. Importantly, about transparency and accountability. I say this often and no one has challenged me on it. Flock is the most transparent public safety law enforcement tool in the country. There is no other tool that has a permanent audit log, that has transparency portals, that has the ability to make sure that every single click within our system is auditable. Every single click that your officers make within Flock is traceable. So if there is any sort of misuse or an accident, that can be tracked back to the individual officer. So that's very important to note. All of these are customizable for each agency. As you'll see on the screen, every single search requires a registered ID with that search and a reason or a case number. One of the things we've taken to the next level now is mandating NIBRS codes. So what NIBRS is an FBI designation of the most common crimes in the country. So burglary, assault, all of these items. One of those codes has to be chosen for every single time that this is utilized. So as your chief said, if someone says they are utilizing a search for burglary, but then your audit shows it was used for something different, you can hold that officer accountable. And so that's very important. We encourage all of our departments that use us to have regular audits. You all have that here. And also, it's very important to note, we actually have proactive auditing coming out for your officers. Some people have said, you know, we love the fact we have audits, but why do we have to wait until our monthly or quarterly or yearly audits to wait to see if there might have been some sort of misuse? What proactive auditing is going to do is alert your system administrator, in this case, your deputy chief, say, this activity looks a little suspicious. You should look into it. Doesn't mean anything bad has actually happened, but it's a red flag to check it out. Things that might include are a lot of searches by an officer after hours when they're not supposed to be working. Things where a description that's put in doesn't match that NIBRS code. All those different items will provide a proactive flag for your officers, so you don't have to wait until the 30-day audit reports. And so these are all things that we built in at the very beginning, and they're things that we're continuing to innovate on to make sure there's the highest level of accountability and transparency in your system. Now, this is a big one. There's a lot of myths out there about data and how Flock utilizes data and all of these things. I want to, again, address these head on. First and foremost, Flock does not sell data, period. We do not sell data. It is explicit in every single contract we have with every single agency that your agency owns the data. We store it on the AWS, Amazon Web Services GovCloud, with the encryption that I'll go through shortly. So we keep it protected. We are continually innovating this. We do not sell data, period. Second, you may look at articles or TikToks or YouTubes and say, Flock shared data this way, Flock shared data that way. Flock does not share data. every agency chooses who they want to share data with. As you all heard from your chief, you've restricted your sharing only to the state of Arizona. There are some people who choose to join the nationwide lookup feature, which is a mutual sharing feature where if you want to be able, if you have a missing child, you want to be able to search every other camera that's also opted into that. That is a possibility. What we found is some folks didn't realize, some of our customers didn't fully appreciate the mutual sharing relationship of nationwide lookup. And so you'll see an article saying, oh, there was a data hack, there was a data leak or something to that extent. Flock has not been hacked. There has not been a data leak. We're having important conversations about sharing relationships or whether people do want to share nationwide or share beyond their cities. Some cities choose not to share at all. Some choose to do as you all do here, which is only share within the state. Some only choose to share with a couple of cities in their general region. But that Flock never makes a decision to share the data of any agency, and we do not sell data. And I'm happy to dive into that for however much you want to do. Private customers. So Flock does have private customers that utilize our technology for organized retail crime, banks, all of those things. It's very important to note, while those private customers can choose to share their cameras with law enforcement, so if a wanted vehicle happens to be in their parking lot, your law enforcement agency would be able to get an alert saying there's a wanted vehicle in this company's parking lot. However, those private entities will never have access to government data. That is a firm line. Legally, private entities are not allowed access to CJIS, Criminal Justice Information Services data, and that is a very important point to make. As you noted, you all have a 30-day retention by default. That is the best practice across the country. Some folks choose to do longer, some choose to do a little bit less, but by default, at 30 days, that data is deleted. In technical terms, it is sanitized to the highest government level of data sanitization, and happy to dive into that as well. Also, as your chief noted, these are images of license plates in public view. The Flock system is not connected to DMV records. It is not connected to social security numbers. It is fully separate from your agency's records that identify individuals. So again, these are looking for license plates. And as you know, even if a license plate is registered to a particular driver, that doesn't guarantee that the person registered was actually driving the car at that time. So again, to repeat what your chief said, a lot of people view mistakenly that these cameras are judge and jury, that if your vehicle is searched for whatever reason, that because it's seen on one of these cameras, that it's automatically guilty of something. Flock is a tool. Your officers are the ones doing the tough investigations to connect the dots of the information that's collected. But there is no personal information that is collected on these. And only your agency decides who to share with, not Flock. To go over some of the encryption standards, happy to dive into these specifically. I know it's a lot of letters all put together, but really the most important one is the FBI CJIS standards. That is the standard necessary to hold encrypted information and sensitive information. And while we don't have information on social security numbers, addresses, all of these things, we protect it as if we do. And that's very important. We are protecting these images that are taken of publicly available images of the rears of vehicles with license plates, but we protect them as if they were some of the most sensitive information out there, including the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. And so I'm happy to dive into those encryption standards as well. But again, key takeaways here, Flock has not been hacked. There has not been a data breach. We do not sell data, and we never make a decision to share data. Very important points. And actually, I know, very briefly, I know the chief wanted me to address some other YouTube videos that were out there regarding, there's a YouTube video saying we hacked into Flock's cameras or any number of things. So I want to address that head on. Again, happy to answer questions afterwards. So there's this one video where you have an individual who takes one of the Flock cameras out of the box and says, look at all the weaknesses this camera has. Look at everything I can do with it. These are not secure. These et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That it's really necessary to put that in context. That's the exact same as if I were to take my iPhone out of the box, not connect it to any sort of system, and play around with it, because it has absolutely none of the patches and security patches that come when you actually activate it and connect it to a network. That camera was a dumb camera because it wasn't connected to our system with all the patches that come around to it. So you have someone who's technically knowledgeable, who's able to go in, do some what I call magic tricks on an unconnected camera, because it doesn't have any of the patches that come with it. And so that camera, that was not a hack. That was someone who simply doesn't believe in license plate readers as a public safety technology, looking to make a point through this. But that's very important to note that that was an out-of-the-box camera, not connected to our network. And it was simply not a realistic test case. Every single one of the issues that he brought up, that YouTuber brought up in that video, were issues we had already fixed long ago, and had it actually been connected to the system, which he's not capable of doing because it is a secure system, all of the things that were pointed out would have been patched and fixed. So I want to address that directly. I know there's a lot of other different TikToks and YouTubes out there. If there's anything specifically you'd like me to address, happy to answer those questions as well.
I have a question for Trevor. I heard about Flagstaff in Sedona. What was the rationale for the city councils to discontinue the flock program?
So in both cases, I would leave that specifically to the law enforcement agencies there. Overall, the conversations about balancing privacy and public safety are important ones, and they can be very tense ones, especially in a heightened political environment. And I think that was the case with those conversations as well. The story that the chief shared of the fact that both of these cities had their cameras turned off, and this young girl who was abducted went through those cities, and they didn't find her until they went to Cottonwood, who did have license plate readers. That struck me as incredibly powerful. The conversation between public safety and privacy is an incredibly important one. It raises significant tensions, and in any given political environment like we're in today, I think that was kind of the catalyst for it. And Mayor, if I may, on the Fourth Amendment aspect, just because something happened today regarding that, there was one case called Norfolk. It's been the big ALPR case across the country. It's been pointed to by groups like the ACLU as be wary of LPR because look at this big case in Norfolk. Norfolk was decided today, and it was decisively decided that license plate readers are fully constitutional under the Fourth Amendment. And so I just wanted to add that into the Fourth Amendment conversation.
I'd have one question for Trevor. One of the emails had a picture of a playground at night that was vacant and said it was an unattended playground that was somehow on a flock camera. Do you know anything about that?
So this is probably in regards to our pan-tilt zoom cameras, which the city of Prescott doesn't have, correct?
We have some unfixed.
We have a few unfixed ones.
The portable ones.
The portable ones, yes. So on a limited number, there was, during the testing phase to get these cameras qualified to use the network and a bunch of technical jargon, they didn't go back to being encrypted. And so that was brought to our attention and it was fixed. And so we have several thousand of these across the country, and there were approximately 40 to 80 that had this issue. And when we were made aware of it, we were able to lock them back down. So they were no longer accessible.
Okay, so we're not monitoring playgrounds.
Well, we do have several that are fixed cameras on high usage intersections, which we do use to monitor for traffic crashes and those kinds of things in case we need real-time information about things going on in those intersections.
Okay, thank you. Lois?
I think there's concerns around the data, which you addressed, and you mentioned the deleting of the data. Is there any scenario where that data would be copied before it was deleted that you can see, and how are you dealing with that?
So the only time where data may not be fully deleted in any sense is for the machine learning. And the way that works is, say, I was watching My Cousin Vinny on AMC last night. And the big distinction of My Cousin Vinny is the Pontiac Tempest versus a Buick Skylark, right? And so I'm glad I'm not the only one who got that reference. And so if our cameras are having difficulty differentiating a Buick Pontiac Tempest and a Buick Skylark, our engineers will look for specific examples of where that happened and will pull that image without any metadata. So let's say it was the Buick Skylark was found here in Prescott. That image, that single image would be pulled without any identifying information about what agency it was pulled from, location, time, date, any of that. And it would be used for machine learning. That is the only case, so that it is in increasing accuracy, but not giving any CGIS data, any sensitive data as a part of that. Other than that, once these images are deleted, they are hard sanitized according to government standards, and they are irretrievable and cannot be accessed or retrieved ever again.
And is there any capacity for human error in that process?
In the deletion process, the hesitance in me says there's always room for error anywhere. What I can say is what we do is up to government standards of data sanitization, and we feel very confident in it.
I want to thank everyone for coming here today. Our job is to keep everyone safe here and to discourage the bad guys from doing bad things here in the city of Prescott. So I completely support this tool, which is a very useful, cost-effective method to apprehend those bad guys. Thank you.